We are at Park Inn by Radisson, and we're talking entertainment highlights. Now, I've got Anto and Obina, and the next story caused quite a stir on Twitter. So, former radio presenter Ciku Muiruri, I have to be so careful here, Ciku Muiruri, she went on Twitter and, was commenting on the Dutch businessman who died quite recently, sort of just saying, hey, I knew him, it was really sad, and I had this experience with him and his dogs. And she came under harsh criticism because people were like, well, also you're promoting your book. Yeah. She did talk about her book in that tweet. Yeah. Do you think that there is a right and a wrong way to honor the dead?
It's so interesting that with Twitter, as we use Western media app, we've literally thrown away African way of life. I am probably the most progressive person, for 9 people, I'm probably very progressive. But I also believe there's just places we don't, when it comes to kids, family, and now death. There's just things we just don't drag our embarrassing and our bad manners. You can talk about things, you can say funny things, you can talk about anything, you can make fun of people, that's your thing, but you don't bring the dead and discuss them with the living. Period. The dead tell no tales. So the fact that they have no story to tell, why are you telling their stories? Why are you bringing dogs where someone has passed away? Why are you bringing your new book? And then to make things worse, because my good friend Shiro Morioki is always confused for Ciku Muiruri.
Which is why I was like, I have to be careful.
Ciku Muiruri. So now they drag Shiro in this mud. And she's out there trying to explain to people, guys, I didn't say this. I'm not promoting a book. I don't have a book.
I'm just doing my
cleanse. And that's the lesson. And the lesson is that bad manners also drags other people who have nothing to do with your bad manners in your drama. Just stop it, guys. Just Ciku, that one was a low blow.
Okay, for me, I will go the other direction.
Yeah.
The dogs didn't die, the dogs are alive. If I had an amazing experience with your dogs, I will talk about them. And if you bought my book in the process of me playing with the dogs, I'll tell people about it. Like you say, the dead are already dead. Yeah. They will not come out and say, provided she didn't talk about the dead in bad taste. Come and say this person was very bad. If you're talking about the dead in good taste, it's okay.
But Obina trying to make money from dead people,
hassle is hassle, Anto. It's a hassle.
But it's
called positioning.
You're Nigerian.
It's called positioning.
The least thing you could do is talk about dead people.
It's called. I'm not talking about dead people. I'm just saying. I'm talking about the live person who spoke about the dead person.
Would you use any opportunity to get some PR?
Baby. I will do it. It's positioning.
Do you know?
Okay. If I sold you this watch, and when you are, okay, leave me alone.
Do you know why you're hesitating? Because it is so it is so African. We don't play with life, death, and then in between those passage or the rights, whatever, we don't play with that.
So you guys are offended she spoke about selling a book to them?
No, we are offended that it is off limits when it comes to death. When he was living, the guy was a billionaire who would have probably bought rights to her book way before. Use those connections, use those clubs you go to, those golf clubs you go to sell those, because you're that connected. Don't wait for him to die and then you're using his death connection to sell a book. Do you know, even for him, where he is, he's even embarrassed that when I was alive...
Sorry now.
When I was alive, you didn't use my money.
Sorry. Okay, Ciku. It was bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
Don't repeat it again.
Thank you for
don't play with any other person's dogs.
Don't
Don't talk about other people's dogs and your book in the same sentence and dead people.
Stop.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I feel more than anything. There's just a time and a place. There's a time and a place to talk about your to promote your things, and in the same sentence as a man who's just been discovered as having been murdered. Right? I just don't think that is the time or the place. But you know, Kenyan Twitter is quick to try and put people in their place. The only problem here is that Shiro is the one that's
putting Shiro in the place.
Putting the wrong person.
In the wrong place. So moving on to a story that really riled me up. I'm curious to know what you think. But Olympic High School recently sent home a young girl for having had dreadlocks on. And her father was like, but actually no, I'm going to take this as high as I can. And they went to court, and the court overruled that actually school, you have, the school had no right to chase the child, to tell the child to go home.
Yeah.
Thoughts on schools and hairstyles and where that line is between order and structures in school and personal or your rights?
I was always a rebel growing up, and the interesting thing is that my mom is a teacher. She owns a school, so I come from disciplinarian home, but it's interesting because I always used to rebel about against until you have to shave your hair on Sunday because my hair grows really fast.
On Sunday.
On Sunday, by the time you go to so when you're going to school on Monday,
for Monday.
For Monday.
Okay.
So now, even with my mom being a teacher, the fight, and my mom, you never used to believe that I used to say this. I always used to be like, what does the hair have to do with my education? All the time. And that's a fight I had with my parents all the time, even in school. I even found a way to put water. I pat the hair down completely in high school, and then the teachers know I shaved my hair.
Yeah.
But then that said, and there's clearly a disconnect between the teachers that I grew up with and the ones that we have now. I think back then, no matter how strict they were, because the cane was there, so there was a level of discipline. But I think now we have a lot of teachers who are just bullies. You cannot explain to me how a kid with a kilemba, a head wrap, or a kid with dreadlocks, how that affects a whole school and puts a public primary school in such bad light. At what point are you not concerned about grades and you're concerned about the length of a kid's hair? The priorities for the teacher, the priorities for the school, the vision of the teacher is just skewed like this. Imagine how Olympic, that was the beacon of primary school in Kenya in terms of good grades, is being dragged through the courts because of dreadlocks. And the right term, by the way, is Rasta. And it's very cultural that one of the reasons why people view people with Rasta that way, because of how sort of colonizers call them dreadlocks. We dread them, and naturally and culturally, we look at people with dreadlocks as this person is wrong. But also in the same light, and I watched Aden Duale talking about it, I also think that if we're going to allow kids with Rastas in school, we also have to allow kids with hijabs in school. We cannot have those two double standards.
There's not even a question. Are there schools that...
Yeah, there's schools that there's a certain kid who went to court, and the court actually upheld that she shouldn't have the hijab in school. So we cannot have those double standards.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. First off, the rule was nice. At least Anto can go and finish school now. Locks are allowed. Go and finish school.
Wow. Yeah.
So I saw the story, and I also used to have a lot of problems with teachers in school because they don't like long hair. Or even braids or other type of hairstyles. I have kids in school, so they'll always say, they have to have a certain type of hair. I'm like, but if you have the money to put your kids' hair in a certain way, but I understand some teachers like to overstep so they can show power.
Yeah.
Then others say, if you keep your hair short, you concentrate more on the books and other things other than, styling your hair and things like that. Which does not necessarily apply nowadays because technology has come, it's faster. It's not like back in the day when you used to do all that. Yeah. So it's a good step. But I don't see how hair and education... Actually, if they're related, it's even good if you have hair. There's a Swahili saying...
Akili and nywele.
Yeah. Isn't it also? Yeah. So if you have long hair, so here, where we're sitting here, this is the most intelligent person because of the length.
She was, oh my gosh, she has very big hair. Like big this.
No, it's not big, and yours is long. But I get your point.
So if hair and education is related, the longer the hair, the better But it's a good step. I think it's a good step. Now let people go the way you want. If I want to come with Rasta, if it's Mohawk, if it's Jordan.
I mean, I do understand why a school would want to have certain structures in place and systems so that there's uniformity, because you don't want to highlight too much of the, wow, this person gets to wear, I don't know, some Kanye West shoes and the rest of us are just struggling with this second-hand pair.
Yeah.
So I do understand there's a place for that in the school system if that's the system that the school chooses to go for. But I think taking a child's hair into this question, and this child, for her, it's a part of her religion,
it's a religion too.
So it's not just hair. I think that is really a shame, and I'm glad that the judge ruled in favor of the father and the girl, and he essentially even said that this is not about this is about her rights, and that those rights overpower your rules in this case.
Yes.
And in fact said that if she doesn't go back to school, you get a fine of, I think, 100,000 shillings, and even as long as up to 1 year in jail.
Yeah, if you don't take a kid to school, you can be,
if you choose
you
to,
pay 100,000?
Yeah, if you choose to send her away. So I hope that there's more school. And this isn't the first time that parents has taken
this
school
has happened a lot. I think now it's now been
it's
brought up.
official. Let your child go.
And what's so frustrating too, my brother has dreadlocks as well. And I remember him saying, and he's had them for years, quite long, but I remember him saying in uni, he felt that he had to work harder and be more attentive, because when he then needed to go and present his work, people would sort of look away from his hair and look at his grades. And he performed very well. He was like,
don't be found mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. Be really good everywhere else
exactly.
to take away from that. And I found that so sad to hear that we've got to do that. Anyway,
it's sad.
I'm glad that the judge ruled in favor of her. So one more before we go to break. This is an interesting one. So an MP recently tried to come up saying that, you're already laughing because you know which one I'm about to share. Rangwe MP has demanded that there ought to be a law to combat people farting on airplanes. Because I think she went through a really rough flight. She was like, we need to figure out a way around this. Yeah. And those people need to be tried. Maybe even jailed. There needs to be something done. So
why the hell was I flying first class? In first class, you don't feel those bad smells.
Yeah, but also you do realize, I mean, first class, because the kind of food they eat, probably now the release is even worse.
Who goes on an airplane, then start sniffing around?
No.
Yo,
guys,
bruh.
have you been on a long flight and just thought, like, why are your shoes off?
Exactly. Why have you?
What is that?
Did you see what happened? I think in Ghana or Nigeria, where
I don't put Nigeria there.
I was actually in Ghana. You guys can check it out. I don't have the exact receipts, but it was in Ghana, and literally they wanted to go to war, they wanted to fight because they knew the guy who done it. Like, who did it? You did it. So
did what?
He farted in parliament. And it was like a really big deal. The thing is, this is indicative. I have always wanted to use that word.
I told you the most violent person here.
I've always wanted to use that word on TV. Indicative of the fact that.
What does it mean?
Basic
like
indicative.
Yeah.
This indicates that. This is indicative. Okay, continue.
Of the fact that clearly members of parliament, and I don't want to generalize, and these are not the views of NTV, please know this, that a lot of parliamentarians, those who are not doing their job, clearly are eating a lot. Because
but they eat a lot, it's true.
Yeah, there's this book,
public money,
there's this poem, I've forgotten about it, and I know you guys who've done it before know the poem, and it's all about the driver who has heartburn or gas problems, ulcers, because he's always chilling in the car waiting for this big mkubwa, and it's actually a Kenyan poem. And then the mkubwa is sick because of the places he goes to eat while the driver is waiting for him. So he has ulcers because of the food he eats, and the driver has ulcers because he doesn't eat. So it clearly shows you, number one, priority. If farting, and that's what is priority for the MP. Hey, manze, you guys, these are the guys you select as your parliamentarians.
Yeah.
Two, it means that MP has suffered the wrath of parliamentarians, of eating too much. So just check on your food and please focus on other things.
Then her friends, who are the people hanging around you? The immediate people are the ones who pollute the air.
Yeah.
But it's a flight. There's you're probably not with a friend. What I want to know, one of the greatest mysteries, besides the Bermuda Triangle, is who threw that stinker. If it happened right now, it's almost like so how do you even
there are theories around
how do you tell?
There are always theories. People say that the first person to smell it is the culprit. So people, you smell it but just like
which is also a way for the other ones who've done it not to. So I have a confession. I have not here, you guys. I've not done it here. If it's here, it's Obina. So my confession is, I was basically in an elevator, in a lift, and I was like,
and you were alone.
And
then
like,
you thought,
and I can see there's no one. There's one in the lift with me, and there's no one who's clearly joining the lift, and I'm going to like 15th floor. So I'm like, I'm on the ground floor. I need to release. So I release. These kids, and I mean kids, I mean like young people who are in a beauty school, decide to enter the lift on the third floor.
And you are the only person in
And they
there
are going to 8th
with
floor.
locks.
They are going to 8th floor with locks. I'm going to 15th floor. And me being Antonio Soul, I looked at them and judged them. I was like, you,
How do you enter
how
with such
how
a...
can you dare do this in my presence? Don't you know I am Antonio Soul? Like, how dare you? So I was with my nose up in the air for two reasons.
Yeah.
One, to show who I am, and two, to not smell myself because I'm the one who
But
guys,
you know
we have
that
to
is
go.
denser than air. So
We have to go on a break.
Easier.
I can't do this.
Wait,
I
before
need
you
a
go,
break.
one person need to invent diapers for sweet smell. So everybody puts it inside the boxer.
Yeah.
So when you release, smells like flowers.
And me, all I can say is
Kudos.
this, as we close, is that the more pretty, the more beautiful, the more handsome the
Hi.
person is,
The
The
they
worse
did
the
it.
stinker.
Yes.
The
So
worst is-
ugly people like me don't do that things. Don't do such things.